One of the most powerful spiritual truths about money that has the power to completely change your financial life forever is the higher self-choice principle. This great change doesn't need you to work harder, find new business ideas, or learn complicated money strategies. This principle is about understanding something that most people never discover in their entire lives, that your higher self, the wisest part of you, has already picked the exact amount of wealth you will have in this lifetime. Think about this for a moment. Before you were even born, before you took your first breath, before you had your first thought about money, your higher self was already making choices about your financial future. Your higher self looked at your soul's journey, your purpose on earth, and the lessons you came here to learn, and it chose the perfect amount of wealth that would support your highest good. For example, if you want to be rich, if you dream about financial freedom, if you wish you could stop worrying about bills and start living the life you really want, the truth is that your higher self already chose this wealth for you. It's not something you have to fight for, chase after, or prove you deserve. It's something that was selected for you with perfect wisdom, long before you even knew you wanted it. But here's where most people get stuck, and this is crucial to understand. They spend their whole lives trying to create wealth from the outside. They work longer hours, they start new businesses, they follow money gurus, they try investment strategies, they read books about getting rich, and they wonder why nothing seems to work for very long. Some things might work for a while, they might make some money, but then it slips away, or they hit a ceiling they can't break through, or they find themselves back where they started. This happens because they're trying to create something that was already created for them. It's like trying to build a house when the blueprint is already finished and the materials are already waiting for you. You're working 10 times harder than you need to because you don't know that the work was already done. The first learning in this principle is this: if you don't connect with what your higher self chose for you, your money situation will stay the same no matter what you do on the outside. You can try every business idea, every investment strategy, every money-making method in the world, but if you're not aligned with your higher self's choice, you'll keep hitting the same walls over and over again. This is why some people seem to make money easily while others struggle no matter how hard they try. The people who make money easily aren't necessarily smarter, more talented, or luckier. They're just more aligned with what their higher self chose for them, even if they don't realize it. Your higher self chose your wealth based on what would serve your soul's growth the most. Maybe your higher self chose great wealth because your soul came here to learn about abundance, generosity, and using money to help others. Maybe your higher self chose modest wealth because your soul came here to learn about simplicity, gratitude, and finding joy in non-material things. Or maybe your higher self chose wealth that comes in waves, sometimes more, sometimes less, because your soul came here to learn about trust, faith, and letting go of control. Whatever your higher self chose, it chose it with perfect love and perfect wisdom. It wasn't a random decision. It wasn't based on whether you're good enough or whether you deserve it. It was based on what would help your soul grow the most during this lifetime on earth. But here's what's really exciting. If you understand this principle, if you learn how to connect with your higher self's choice instead of fighting against it, money will flow to you in ways that seem almost magical. Opportunities will appear out of nowhere. People will offer you things you never expected. Money will come from directions you never thought possible. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, getting ideas that actually work. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is what happens when you stop swimming against the current and start swimming with it. This is what happens when you stop trying to force something to happen and start allowing what was already chosen to unfold. If you master this principle, wealth will come to you without the struggle, stress, and exhaustion that most people think is necessary to make money. You'll stop living paycheck to paycheck. You'll stop worrying about bills. You'll stop feeling like there's never enough. Instead, you'll feel supported by life itself. You'll feel like the universe is on your side. You'll experience what it's really like to live in abundance. However, this requires you to do something that most people find very difficult. It requires you to let go of your old way of thinking about money. It requires you to stop trying to control everything. It requires you to trust something you cannot see with your physical eyes. It requires you to believe in something that our culture tells us is impossible. Most people want to keep doing things the hard way because the hard way feels more familiar. The hard way feels like something they can control. They'd rather work 18 hours a day trying to force money to come than spend 30 minutes a day connecting with their higher self and trusting that their wealth is already chosen. Most people want to keep worrying about money because worrying feels like doing something. They think that if they stop worrying, if they stop stressing, if they stop trying so hard, then nothing will happen. They're afraid that if they trust their higher self, they'll end up with less money, not more. This fear keeps millions of people trapped in financial struggle their entire lives. They never discover that the very thing they're afraid of, letting go of control, is exactly what would set them free. If you're really ready to stop fighting for money and start receiving the wealth your higher self chose for you, if you're ready to experience what it feels like when money flows instead of struggles, if you're ready to discover that abundance was always meant for you, then what I'm about to share will change everything. But I have to warn you, once you understand this truth, once you experience what it's like to be aligned with your higher self's choice, you'll never want to go back to the old way of thinking about money. You'll wonder why you spent so many years making things so much harder than they needed to be. Your higher self is not just a nice spiritual concept or a pretty idea that sounds good in meditation books. Your higher self is the most real, most powerful, most loving part of who you are. It's the part of you that exists beyond your physical body, beyond your everyday thoughts, beyond your fears and worries about money. Think of your higher self as the wisest, most loving person you've ever met, but instead of being someone else, it's actually you. It's you at your highest level of wisdom, love, and understanding. It's you with perfect knowledge of what's best for your soul's journey. Your higher self exists in what we call the spiritual realm or the non-physical dimension. In this realm, time works differently than it does here on Earth. In the spiritual realm, your higher self can see your entire life from beginning to end, like watching a movie where you already know how it ends. Your higher self can see all the challenges you'll face, all the lessons you'll learn, all the growth you'll experience, and all the joy you'll discover. Before you came to Earth, when you were still in the spiritual realm with your higher self, you both worked together to plan your life. You didn't just randomly show up here. Your birth wasn't an accident. Your life isn't just something that's happening to you without any plan or purpose. You and your higher self carefully chose the family you'd be born into, the country you'd live in, the time period you'd experience, the people you'd meet, the challenges you'd face, and yes, the amount of wealth you'd have access to during your lifetime. This might sound impossible if you're used to thinking that life is random, that money is scarce, and that you have to fight for everything you get. But think about it this way. If you were planning a trip to a foreign country, you'd research the best places to visit, the best hotels to stay in, the best experiences to have. You'd make choices based on what would give you the most growth, the most joy, the most memorable experiences. That's exactly what your higher self did when planning your life on Earth. It looked at all the possible experiences you could have, all the possible lessons you could learn, all the possible ways you could grow, and it chose the path that would be most beneficial for your soul. When it came to money, your higher self didn't just randomly pick an amount. It carefully considered what level of wealth would best serve your soul's purpose. It looked at the lessons you came here to learn, the ways you came here to grow, the people you came here to help, and the contributions you came here to make. Let's go back to the example of wanting to be rich. If you have a deep desire to be wealthy, if you dream about financial freedom, if you feel called to live abundantly, this isn't just a random want or a selfish desire. This is your soul remembering what your higher self chose for you. Your higher self chose wealth for you because it knew that having money would help you learn important lessons, grow in important ways, and make important contributions to the world. Maybe your higher self chose wealth for you because it knew you'd use that money to help your family, to support causes you care about, or to create businesses that serve others. Or maybe your higher self chose wealth for you because it knew that learning to receive abundance would teach you important lessons about self-worth, about trusting life, about believing you deserve good things. Maybe your soul came here to learn that it's not only okay to have money, but that having money can actually be a spiritual gift. But here's what happens to most people, and this is where they get stuck. Your higher self chose wealth for you, but you keep thinking thoughts like, I'm poor, money is hard to get, rich people are greedy, I don't deserve money, or there's not enough money to go around. When you think these thoughts, when you believe these ideas, you create a wall between yourself and the wealth your higher self chose for you. It's like your higher self is trying to deliver a package to your house, but you've put up a fence that blocks the delivery truck from getting through. Your higher self chose your wealth in the spiritual realm where everything is pure love, infinite abundance, and perfect wisdom. But when that choice tries to manifest in the physical world, it has to go through your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions. If your thoughts are full of fear about money, if your beliefs tell you that wealth is impossible or wrong, if your emotions are stuck in worry and stress about finances, then the wealth your higher self chose for you gets blocked. It can't get through all that resistance. It's not that your higher self made the wrong choice. It's not that you're not meant to have wealth. It's that there's interference between the spiritual realm where the choice was made and the physical realm where you're trying to receive it. This is why your physical world can only show you what your higher self picked when you line up with it. When your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are in harmony with your higher self's choice, when you trust instead of worry, when you expect abundance instead of lack, then the path clears for your chosen wealth to reach you. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. The radio waves are always there, broadcasting music 24 hours a day. But if your radio isn't tuned to the right frequency, all you hear is static. The music doesn't stop playing just because you can't hear it. You just need to adjust your tuning until you pick up the signal clearly. Your higher self is always broadcasting the frequency of your chosen wealth. The abundance is always there, always available, always trying to reach you. But if your mental and emotional frequency is tuned to lack, worry, and struggle, you can't pick up the abundance signal. You just hear the static of financial stress. When you start tuning your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions to match your higher self's choice, when you start thinking abundant thoughts, believing in your worthiness, and feeling grateful for what's coming, you begin to pick up the wealth frequency more clearly. And as that signal gets stronger and clearer, your chosen abundance starts showing up in your physical reality. This is why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle no matter how hard they work. The people who attract money easily are naturally tuned to the frequency of their higher self's abundant choice. The people who struggle are unknowingly tuned to frequencies of lack, fear, and limitation. But here's the beautiful truth that changes everything. You can learn to tune your frequency intentionally. You can learn to align your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions with the wealth your higher self chose for you. And when you do, you'll be amazed at how quickly your financial reality begins to change. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about remembering a truth that you knew before you were born, but forgot when you got caught up in the physical world's way of thinking about money. Your wealth isn't something you have to create, earn, or deserve. Your wealth is something that was already chosen for you with perfect love and wisdom. Your job isn't to make it happen. Your job is to allow it to happen by getting back into alignment with the choice that was already made. Most people can't see their chosen wealth because they're looking in all the wrong places and focusing on all the wrong things. They spend their entire lives staring at what they don't have instead of trusting what was already chosen for them. This might sound simple, but it's actually one of the biggest reasons why so many good people live paycheck to paycheck while wondering why abundance seems to pass them by. Let me explain what I mean. When you wake up in the morning and check your bank account, what do you focus on? Most people focus on how little money is there. They look at the bills that need to be paid, the debt that needs to be cleared, the expenses coming up that they're not sure how they'll cover. They spend the first few minutes of their day focusing on lack, shortage, and financial stress. Then they go through their day continuing to focus on what's missing. They see expensive things they can't afford and feel bad about it. They hear about other people making money and wonder why it's not happening for them. They worry about the future, stress about the present, and regret financial decisions from the past. By the time they go to bed at night, they've spent the entire day thinking about money from the perspective of not having enough. They've trained their mind to look for evidence of financial struggle, and guess what? When you look for evidence of struggle, you always find it. This creates a cycle that most people get trapped in without even realizing it. The more they focus on not having money, the more their reality reflects not having money. The more they worry about bills, the more bills seem to appear. The more they stress about money, the more situations arise that give them reasons to stress about money. But here's what they don't understand. While they're focusing on lack, their higher self is still broadcasting the frequency of their chosen abundance. While they're worrying about not having enough, their higher self is still trying to deliver the wealth that was selected for them before they were born. It's like having someone trying to give you a gift, but you're so focused on complaining about not having gifts that you don't notice the person standing right next to you with a present in their hands. Your higher self is constantly trying to get your attention, constantly trying to show you signs that your wealth is on its way, but you're too busy looking at what's wrong to notice what's trying to go right. We live in a world that teaches us to focus on the wrong things when it comes to money. From the time we're children, we're taught that money is scarce, that you have to work hard for every dollar, that rich people are lucky or dishonest, and that most people are destined to struggle financially. We're surrounded by news about economic problems, stories about people losing money, and advertisements that make us feel like we don't have enough. We're taught to save money because there might not be more, to hold on to every dollar because money is hard to get, and to always expect the worst when it comes to finances. This constant exposure to lack-based thinking about money creates what I call scarcity programming in our minds. We become programmed to see shortage everywhere, to expect financial problems, and to believe that abundance is only for other people. The media reinforces this programming every single day. The news tells us about recessions, job losses, and economic uncertainty. Movies and TV shows portray wealthy people as villains or show average people struggling to make ends meet. Social media is full of people complaining about money problems or showing off wealth in ways that make others feel left out. All of this programming makes it almost impossible to stay focused on the abundance that your higher self chose for you. Instead of trusting that your wealth is on its way, you get caught up in the world's way of thinking about money, which is based on fear, competition, and limitation. But it goes even deeper than just external programming. Most people can't see their chosen wealth because they've lost connection with their inner knowing, their intuition, their ability to feel what's true beyond what they can see with their physical eyes. We live in a world that values logic over intuition, facts over feelings, and proof over faith. We're taught to only believe what we can see, touch, and measure. We're told that spiritual concepts like higher self and pre-chosen abundance are just wishful thinking or fantasy. This focus on only trusting what we can see with our physical senses cuts us off from the spiritual realm where our wealth was chosen. It's like trying to watch a movie with your eyes closed, or trying to listen to music with your ears plugged. You're missing the most important information because you're only using part of your ability to perceive reality. Your higher self communicates with you through feelings, intuitions, synchronicities, and inner knowing. When you feel excited about a business idea, that might be your higher self guiding you toward your chosen wealth. When you have a strong feeling that something good is about to happen financially, that might be your higher self letting you know that your abundance is close. But most people dismiss these feelings as just wishful thinking. They've been taught that feelings aren't reliable, that intuition isn't real, and that synchronicities are just coincidences. So they ignore the very signals that would help them recognize and receive their chosen wealth. Another reason people can't see their chosen wealth is that they're too busy chasing money in ways that go against what their higher self selected for them. They try to force wealth to come through methods that don't match their soul's path. For example, maybe your higher self chose for you to become wealthy through creative work, through helping people, or through following your passion. But because the world tells you that those paths don't make money, you spend your time trying to get rich through traditional business, corporate jobs, or investment strategies that don't excite you. When you try to create wealth in ways that don't align with your higher self's choice, it's like trying to swim upstream. You can do it, but it requires enormous effort, and you'll always feel like you're fighting against the current. Meanwhile, if you were swimming downstream in the direction your higher self chose, the current would carry you forward with much less effort. Many people also can't see their chosen wealth because they have old emotional wounds around money that create resistance. Maybe they grew up hearing that money is the root of all evil, or that wanting money makes you greedy, or that good people shouldn't care about material things. These emotional wounds create internal conflict. Part of them wants the wealth their higher self chose, but another part of them feels guilty or wrong for wanting it. This internal conflict sends mixed signals to the universe. It's like pressing the gas pedal and the brake pedal at the same time in your car. You want to move forward, but you're also stopping yourself from moving forward. The wounds might also come from past experiences with money. Maybe they lost money in a bad investment, or someone they trusted stole from them, or they grew up in poverty and learned to expect financial disappointment. These experiences create fear and distrust around money that blocks them from receiving what their higher self chose. Here's another big reason people can't see their chosen wealth. They're looking for it to show up in exactly the way they think it should, rather than staying open to how their higher self wants to deliver it. Maybe your higher self chose for you to become wealthy through real estate, but you keep trying to make money through the stock market. Maybe your higher self chose for your wealth to come through partnerships with other people, but you keep trying to do everything by yourself. Maybe your higher self chose for your abundance to come gradually over time, but you keep looking for get-rich-quick opportunities. When you're attached to specific methods, timing, or sources for your wealth, you might miss the actual path your higher self has prepared for you. Your chosen abundance might be trying to reach you through a door you're not even looking at because you're so focused on a different door. The truth is, your higher self chose not just the amount of wealth you'll have, but also the perfect way for that wealth to come to you. The path your higher self selected takes into account your talents, your interests, your life circumstances, and your soul's growth. But if you're not paying attention to the guidance your higher self is giving you, you might spend years trying to force money to come through the wrong channels. This is why so many people feel frustrated with money. They're working hard, they're trying different strategies, they're doing everything the experts tell them to do, but nothing seems to create lasting wealth. They don't realize that they're fighting against their higher self's choice instead of cooperating with it. The solution isn't to work harder or try more strategies. The solution is to get quiet enough, still enough, and trusting enough to feel what your higher self chose for you and to follow the guidance you receive about how to allow that choice to unfold in your life. The first key to receiving your chosen wealth is understanding that your higher self and your physical self must work together like dance partners moving in perfect harmony. Most people don't realize that they have these two aspects of themselves, and even fewer understand how these aspects need to cooperate for abundance to flow into their lives. Your higher self holds the blueprint, the original plan, the perfect design for your wealth. Think of your higher self as the architect who has drawn up the most beautiful, functional, and perfect house you could ever imagine. Every detail has been carefully planned. Every room serves a purpose. Every window is placed to let in the perfect amount of light. The blueprint is flawless. But having a perfect blueprint doesn't automatically create a physical house. Someone has to take that blueprint and build the actual structure in the physical world. That's where your physical self comes in. Your physical self is like the construction crew that takes the architect's blueprint and turns it into a real house that you can actually live in. Your higher self has the blueprint for your wealth, the perfect plan for how much money you'll have, when it will come, what you'll do with it, and how it will serve your highest good. But your physical self has to cooperate with that blueprint for the wealth to actually show up in your bank account, your business, your investments, or however your higher self planned for it to arrive. The problem is that most people's physical selves are trying to build a completely different house than the one their higher self designed. They're looking at someone else's wealth and trying to copy it. They're following money advice that might work for other people but doesn't match their own blueprint. They're forcing strategies that go against their higher self's plan. It's like having a construction crew that throws away the architect's blueprint and tries to build whatever they think looks good. They might create something, but it won't be nearly as beautiful, functional, or stable as what the architect originally designed. And they'll struggle much more during the construction process because they're not following a plan that takes into account the land, the materials, and the purpose of the building. When your physical self tries to create wealth without following your higher self's blueprint, you end up with the same kind of problems. You might make some money, but it doesn't last. You might find some opportunities, but they don't feel fulfilling. You might achieve some financial goals, but you still feel like something is missing. This is because your physical self is trying to build wealth that doesn't match what your higher self designed for you. You're working against your own blueprint instead of working with it. The connection between your higher self and physical self happens through trust, faith, and receptivity. Your physical self has to learn to trust that your higher self really did choose wealth for you, even when you can't see evidence of it yet in your physical reality. This trust isn't blind faith or wishful thinking. It's more like the trust a dancer has in their partner during a complex routine. The dancer doesn't need to see every step ahead of time. They just need to feel their partner's lead and follow it, knowing that their partner can see the whole dance from a different perspective. Your higher self can see your whole financial journey from beginning to end. It can see the opportunities that are coming, the people you'll meet, the ideas you'll have, and the perfect timing for everything. Your physical self can't see all of that yet, but it can learn to feel your higher self's guidance and follow it. This guidance comes through your intuition, your excitement, your inner knowing, and your gut feelings. When you feel excited about an idea, that's often your higher self saying, "This is part of your blueprint." When you have a strong feeling that you should contact a certain person or go to a certain place, that might be your higher self guiding you toward a piece of your wealth puzzle. But your physical self has to be receptive to this guidance. If you're always stressed, worried, or frantically trying to control everything, you can't feel your higher self's gentle guidance. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a loud party. The whisper is there, but you can't hear it over all the noise. Receptivity means creating quiet moments in your day to listen to your inner guidance. It means paying attention to what excites you, what feels right, and what seems to flow easily. It means being open to opportunities that might not look exactly like what you expected, but feel good in your heart. Your physical self also needs to learn to receive rather than just chase. Most people spend all their energy chasing money, pursuing opportunities, and trying to make things happen. But your higher self wants to give you the wealth it chose. Your job is to learn how to receive it gracefully. Receiving is different from chasing. When you're chasing, you're running after something that's moving away from you. When you're receiving, you're opening yourself to something that's trying to come to you. Chasing is exhausting. Receiving is energizing. Think about the difference between trying to catch a butterfly by running after it versus sitting still and letting the butterfly land on you. When you chase the butterfly, it flies away. When you sit still and create a welcoming energy, the butterfly comes to you naturally. Your chosen wealth is like that butterfly. The more you chase it with desperation, stress, and force, the more it seems to fly away. But when you create a welcoming, receptive, trusting energy, it naturally comes to you. This doesn't mean being passive or doing nothing. It means taking action from a place of trust and guidance rather than from fear and desperation. When your higher self guides you to take a certain action, you take it with confidence, knowing it's part of your blueprint. When you're acting from fear, you take action frantically, hoping something will work but not really knowing if you're going in the right direction. The connection between your higher self and physical self also requires you to align your daily thoughts and feelings with your higher self's choice. If your higher self chose abundance for you, but you spend all day thinking thoughts of lack, there's a disconnect that blocks the flow of wealth. It's like having a water faucet that's turned on full blast, your higher self's abundant choice, but having the drain plugged up with negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, your physical self's resistance. The water is flowing, but it can't get through to where you need it. This is where many people get confused. They think that just knowing their higher self chose wealth for them should be enough. But knowing it intellectually is different from aligning with it emotionally and mentally. Your physical self has to actually cooperate with the choice by thinking thoughts that support it and feeling emotions that welcome it. Ask yourself these questions to understand your connection better. What wealth did my higher self choose for me? Don't overthink this. Just ask the question and listen to the first answer that comes to your heart, not your head. Your heart knows. Your head will try to analyze and doubt, but your heart remembers what was chosen. You might get an answer like financial freedom, or enough money to help my family, or wealth through creative work, or abundance that lets me travel and explore. Whatever answer comes, trust it. That's your higher self communicating your blueprint to your physical self. Then ask, How does my higher self want this wealth to come to me? Again, listen to your heart, not your head. You might get answers like, through helping people, or by sharing my gifts, or through partnerships, or by following my passion. These answers are clues about the path your higher self has prepared for your wealth. Finally, ask, what do I need to release or change to align with this choice? You might get answers like, stop worrying so much, or trust the process more, or follow my excitement instead of forcing things, or believe I'm worthy of abundance. These answers from your heart are your higher self giving your physical self the guidance it needs to cooperate with your wealth blueprint. The more you listen to this guidance and act on it, the stronger your connection becomes, and the more easily your chosen wealth can flow into your physical reality. Remember, your higher self chose your wealth with perfect love and wisdom. It wants you to have it even more than you want to have it. Your job is simply to get your physical self aligned with what was already chosen so that the natural flow of abundance can reach you without obstruction. Understanding the delay between your higher self's choice and your physical reality is absolutely crucial because this is where most people lose faith and give up right before their breakthrough. Your higher self chose your wealth in the spiritual realm where everything happens instantly, like snapping your fingers or flipping a light switch. But in our physical world, things take time to show up because of the very nature of how physical reality works. Think about planting a seed in your garden. The moment you plant that seed, the potential for a full-grown plant already exists within it. The blueprint for the entire plant, its size, its color, its fruit, its flowers, is all contained in that tiny seed. But you don't see a full-grown plant the moment you put the seed in the ground. First, the seed has to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. Then it has to break open and send out roots that you can't even see because they're underground. Only after the roots are established does a small green shoot appear above the surface. And even then, it takes weeks, months, or sometimes years before you see the full expression of what was contained in that original seed. Your higher self's choice of wealth for you is like that seed. The full potential of your abundance already exists in the spiritual realm. The blueprint is complete. The choice has been made. But for it to grow into physical reality that you can see in your bank account, your business, or your life, it has to go through a process that takes time. This process happens because physical matter is denser than spiritual energy. In the spiritual realm, thought and reality are the same thing. When your higher self thinks of your abundance, that abundance immediately exists in spiritual form. But for spiritual energy to become physical matter, to become actual money, actual opportunities, actual resources, it has to slow down, condense, and take shape in a world governed by time and space. It's like the difference between having an idea for a book and holding a physical book in your hands. The idea can happen in an instant, but creating the physical book requires time to write the words, edit the pages, design the cover, print the copies, and distribute them to bookstores. The book exists completely in the realm of ideas immediately, but it takes time to exist completely in the physical realm. This is why you must keep trusting your higher self's choice long enough for it to manifest in your physical reality. Many people start off believing that their abundance is coming, but when they don't see results as quickly as they expected, they begin to doubt. They think maybe their higher self didn't really choose wealth for them, or maybe they're not doing something right, or maybe the whole concept isn't real. This doubt is like digging up the seed every few days to check if it's growing. When you do that, you interrupt the natural process and prevent the seed from developing into the full plant it was meant to become. The seed needs to stay in the ground, undisturbed, with consistent care and faith, for the full growth process to unfold. Your wealth needs the same kind of consistent faith and patience. You have to stay connected to your higher self's choice even when you don't see evidence of it yet in your physical circumstances. You have to keep trusting even when your bank account looks the same, your job situation hasn't changed, and other people seem to be getting the opportunities you want. This is probably the hardest part of receiving your chosen wealth, because everything in our culture teaches us to expect instant results. We live in a world of instant messages, instant food, instant entertainment, and instant gratification. We're used to getting what we want quickly, so when wealth doesn't show up immediately, we assume something is wrong. But spiritual laws work differently than human technology. Spiritual manifestation follows natural rhythms and divine timing that takes into account thousands of factors we can't see. Your higher self doesn't just consider when you want your wealth to arrive. It considers when you'll be ready to handle it wisely, when the opportunities will be most beneficial, when the people you need to meet will be available, and when the circumstances will be aligned for your highest good. Sometimes your wealth is delayed because you need to develop certain skills first. Maybe your higher self chose for you to be wealthy through real estate, but you need to learn about investing before the right property opportunities appear. Maybe your higher self chose for you to have abundance through your creative work, but you need to build confidence in your talents before people are ready to pay premium prices for what you create. Sometimes the delay happens because other people involved in your wealth creation aren't ready yet. Maybe your future business partner is still learning skills they'll need to help you succeed. Maybe the person who will offer you a great job opportunity is still working their way up to a position where they can make hiring decisions. Maybe the investors who will fund your idea are still accumulating the money they'll invest in your project. Sometimes the delay occurs because the larger economic or social conditions need to shift first. Maybe your higher self chose for you to profit from a certain trend, but that trend hasn't started yet. Maybe your wealth will come from solving a problem that people aren't fully aware of yet. Maybe your abundance is tied to a technology or social change that's still developing. The key is to understand that this delay doesn't mean your higher self made a mistake or that your wealth isn't really coming. It means that your higher self, with its perfect view of past, present, and future, chose not just what you'll receive, but also the perfect timing for you to receive it. During the delay period, your job is to stay faithful to the identity and worldview that match your higher self's choice. If your higher self chose wealth for you, you need to start thinking, feeling, and acting like someone whose wealth is on the way, even before you see evidence of it. This means thinking thoughts like, "My abundance is coming at the perfect time," instead of, "Why is this taking so long?" It means feeling excited about your financial future instead of worried about your current circumstances. It means making decisions from a place of trust in your chosen abundance rather than from fear of lack. Many people give up right before their breakthrough because they focus only on their current circumstances instead of staying connected to their higher self's choice. They look at their bank account, see that it hasn't changed, and conclude that nothing is happening. But that's like judging the growth of your planted seed by looking only at the surface of the soil instead of understanding that most of the growth is happening underground where you can't see it. Your wealth might be growing in ways you can't see yet. Opportunities might be developing behind the scenes. People might be talking about you in conversations you don't know about. Ideas might be forming in minds that will eventually create openings for you. Resources might be accumulating that will eventually flow in your direction. The most successful people are those who can hold on to their vision and faith during the delay period. They understand that the gap between planting and harvesting is not empty time. It's preparation time. They use this time to develop skills, build relationships, refine their character, and stay aligned with their higher self's choice. You have to remain loyal to the identity and worldview you've chosen, because this loyalty is what allows your higher self's choice to fully manifest. If you keep switching back and forth between believing in your abundance and doubting it, you create inconsistent energy that slows down the manifestation process. It's like being inconsistent with watering your plant. If you water it generously some days but forget about it other days, the plant will grow slowly and might never reach its full potential. But if you water it consistently, even when you don't see dramatic changes from day to day, the plant will grow steadily and eventually flourish beyond what you imagined. Your faith and trust are the water that feeds your growing wealth. The more consistently you maintain your connection to your higher self's choice, the more steadily your abundance develops, and the more spectacular the eventual manifestation will be. Remember, everything in nature has its own perfect timing. Apples don't ripen in spring, and flowers don't bloom in winter. Your wealth has its own perfect season, and your higher self chose that timing with the same wisdom that orchestrates all of nature's perfect cycles. Your higher self doesn't see lack, shortage, or limitation, because these things don't exist in the spiritual realm where your wealth was chosen. In the spiritual realm, there is only infinite abundance, unlimited resources, and endless possibilities. When your higher self looks at you, it doesn't see someone who is struggling with money or someone who doesn't have enough. It sees someone who is infinitely worthy of abundance and who already has access to unlimited wealth. This is one of the most important keys to understand, because the language you speak with your thoughts and words either connects you to your higher self's abundant reality or disconnects you from it. Every thought you think and every word you speak is like tuning a radio to a specific station. When you think and speak about lack, you tune into the frequency of limitation. When you think and speak about abundance, you tune into the frequency of your higher self's choice. Most people spend their entire day speaking the language of lack without even realizing it. They wake up and think, I don't have enough money to pay all these bills. They look at their bank account and say, I'm so broke. They see something they want to buy and think, I can't afford that. They hear about someone else's success and feel, why can't I have what they have? Every single one of these thoughts and statements is like sending a message to your higher self saying, I don't want the abundance you chose for me. I prefer to focus on limitation instead. Now, your higher self doesn't get offended or stop loving you when you think these thoughts. But these thoughts create interference between you and your chosen wealth, like static that makes it hard to hear a clear radio signal. When you complain, I have no money, you're not just describing your current situation. You're actually reinforcing and strengthening that situation. You're telling the universe, this is what I want more of. Give me more experiences of not having money. And because the universe is always trying to give you what you focus on, it responds by creating more circumstances that match your focus on lack. But when you say something like, I'm grateful for the wealth my higher self chose for me, even when you can't see that wealth yet in your physical reality, you're speaking the language your higher self understands. You're tuning into the frequency of abundance. You're telling the universe, this is what I want more of. Give me more experiences of abundance. This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. This is about choosing to focus on the deeper truth, that your wealth was chosen in the spiritual realm and is already on its way to you, instead of focusing only on temporary physical appearances. Think of it this way. If you ordered something online and got a confirmation that it was being shipped to you, you wouldn't stand at your front door saying, I don't have my package. My package isn't here. I'm never going to get my package. You would say something like, my package is on its way. It should be here soon. I'm looking forward to receiving it. You can have that same attitude about the wealth your higher self chose for you. You've received confirmation from the spiritual realm that your abundance has been selected and is being delivered to you. Instead of focusing on the fact that it's not in your physical reality yet, you can focus on the fact that it's on its way. This shift in focus creates a completely different energy around money. Instead of feeling stressed, worried, and desperate about your finances, you start to feel excited, grateful, and expectant. And these positive emotions are like a magnet that attracts opportunities, ideas, and resources that match your higher self's abundant choice. The language of your higher self includes thoughts and statements like, "I am worthy of the wealth that was chosen for me. My abundance is flowing to me at the perfect time. I trust that my higher self selected exactly what I need. I'm grateful for all the money that is coming into my life. I deserve to live abundantly because that's what my soul chose." When you speak this language consistently, you begin to see evidence of your chosen wealth showing up in small ways at first. Maybe you find money you forgot you had. Maybe someone pays you back money they owed you. Maybe you get a small, unexpected check or discover a discount that saves you money. These might seem like little things, but they're actually signs that you're starting to tune into your abundance frequency more clearly. Most people make the mistake of dismissing these small signs. They think, "Oh, it's just $20 I found in my coat pocket. That's not real wealth." But these small manifestations are like the first green shoots that appear when a seed starts to grow. They're evidence that your wealth is developing and that you're creating the right conditions for bigger abundance to appear. The key is to celebrate and acknowledge every sign of abundance, no matter how small. When you find unexpected money, say, "Thank you, higher self, for showing me that my abundance is real." When you receive a discount, think, "This is evidence that money flows to me easily." When someone gives you something for free, feel, "I'm grateful for this demonstration of abundance in my life." This practice of acknowledging and celebrating small signs of wealth trains your mind to look for abundance instead of lack. The more you look for evidence of your chosen wealth, the more evidence you'll find. And the more evidence you find, the stronger your connection becomes to your higher self's abundant choice. But you have to be consistent with this practice. You can't speak the language of abundance for a few minutes in the morning and then spend the rest of the day complaining about money problems. It's like trying to tune into a radio station by turning the dial to the right frequency for a few seconds and then immediately turning it back to static. You have to keep your mental and emotional dial tuned to abundance throughout the day. This doesn't mean you ignore practical financial responsibilities or pretend that bills don't exist. It means you handle your practical responsibilities from a place of trust in your higher self's choice rather than from a place of fear and limitation. For example, instead of paying bills while thinking, "I hate spending this money," or "I don't have enough to cover everything," you can pay bills while thinking, "I'm grateful I have money to take care of my needs, and more money is flowing to me to replace what I'm spending." Instead of looking for a job while thinking, "I hope someone will hire me," or "the job market is terrible," you can look for opportunities while thinking, "My higher self is guiding me to the perfect income source, and the right opportunity is seeking me just as much as I'm seeking it." This shift in focus from what you lack to what was chosen for you also changes the kinds of opportunities you notice and attract. When you're focused on lack, you tend to notice and attract opportunities that match that energy. Jobs that don't pay well, business ideas that require a lot of work for little return, or investments that seem risky because you're approaching them from desperation. But when you're focused on your chosen abundance, you tend to notice and attract opportunities that match that higher energy. Career possibilities that excite you and pay well, business ideas that feel inspired and profitable, or investment opportunities that feel aligned with your intuition and values. Your higher self chose wealth for you that would bring you joy, fulfillment, and the ability to serve others in meaningful ways. But you can only recognize and receive this kind of wealth when you're thinking from an abundant mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. The practice of focusing on what was chosen for you instead of what you currently lack is something you can start right now, regardless of your current financial situation. You don't need to wait until you have more money to start thinking abundantly. In fact, thinking abundantly is what creates the conditions for more money to come. Start by making a list of everything you're grateful for financially, even if the amount seems small. Maybe you're grateful for the money in your wallet, the roof over your head, the food in your refrigerator, or the clothes you're wearing. Maybe you're grateful for your ability to earn money, your skills and talents, or the people in your life who support you. Then, make a list of the wealth you feel your higher self chose for you. Don't worry about whether it seems realistic based on your current circumstances. Just write down what feels true in your heart when you ask yourself, what abundance did my higher self select for me? Read these lists every day, especially when you catch yourself thinking thoughts of lack or limitation. Use them to redirect your focus from what's missing to what's coming, from what you don't have to what was chosen for you. Remember, your higher self sees you as infinitely abundant because that's your true nature in the spiritual realm. The more you align your thoughts and words with this perspective, the more your physical reality will begin to reflect the wealth that was always meant to be yours. Understanding the cycle of alignment will change everything forever, because once you learn to work with this cycle instead of against it, you will literally see reality changing before your eyes in ways that seem almost magical. Most people are trapped in a backward cycle that keeps them stuck in financial struggle. But when you reverse this cycle, you become a true co-creator of your abundant reality. Let me first explain the cycle that keeps most people trapped, because you've probably been caught in this cycle without even realizing it. This is what I call the puppet cycle, because when you're stuck in it, you're not really creating your life. You're just reacting to whatever shows up. The puppet cycle starts with observation. You look at your current reality and see what's there right now. You see the bills on your kitchen counter, the small amount in your bank account, the job that doesn't pay enough, the debt you're carrying, or the financial stress you're experiencing. You observe all of this as evidence of your financial situation. Then, based on what you observe, you form an image or attitude in your mind. Since you're looking at financial struggle, you start thinking thoughts like, money is hard to get, I'm not good with money, I'll never get ahead, or rich people are lucky and I'm not. These thoughts create feelings of worry, frustration, stress, or hopelessness about money. This image or attitude you've formed, this combination of thoughts and feelings about money, goes out into the universe like a radio signal. The universe, which is like a giant mirror, has no choice but to reflect back experiences that match the signal you're sending out. So if you're sending out thoughts and feelings of financial struggle, the universe reflects back more experiences of financial struggle. More bills arrive, unexpected expenses come up, opportunities fall through, or your income stays limited. This creates more evidence for you to observe that matches your original thoughts about money being hard to get. Then what happens? You look at this new evidence and say, see, I was right. Money really is hard to get. I really am unlucky with finances. This reinforces your original image and attitude, which sends out an even stronger signal of limitation, which creates even more experiences of financial struggle. This is why so many good people stay trapped in financial difficulty year after year. They're not trapped because they're not smart enough. not talented enough, or not worthy enough. They're trapped because they're stuck in this backward cycle where they let their current circumstances control their thoughts and feelings instead of letting their thoughts and feelings create new circumstances. They try different strategies, different jobs, different business ideas, but nothing creates lasting change because they're always starting from the same place, observing limitation and then trying to build abundance from that foundation of limitation. It's like trying to build a beautiful house on quicksand. No matter how hard you work or what materials you use, the foundation won't support lasting success. But here's the exciting truth that changes everything. You can reverse this cycle and become a conscious creator of your financial reality instead of an unconscious reactor to whatever shows up. The creator cycle starts in a completely different place. Instead of starting by observing your current reality, you start by choosing the image or attitude you want to have based on what your higher self chose for you. You begin by asking yourself, what wealth did my higher self choose for me? And how would I think and feel if I was aligned with that choice? Maybe the answer is, my higher self chose financial freedom for me, and if I was aligned with that choice, I would feel peaceful about money, excited about opportunities, and grateful for the abundance flowing into my life. You consciously choose to adopt this image and attitude regardless of what your current circumstances look like. This is the hardest part for most people because it requires you to think and feel in a new way before you see evidence that supports those thoughts and feelings. But this is exactly what makes you a creator instead of a puppet. Puppets wait for circumstances to change before they change their thoughts and feelings. Creators change their thoughts and feelings first, which then changes their circumstances. When you hold this new image and attitude consistently, sending out signals of abundance, financial peace, and gratitude, the universe begins to reflect back experiences that match these higher vibrations. At first, the changes might be small. A little extra money comes your way, a small opportunity appears, or you feel less stressed about finances. Here's where most people make a crucial mistake. When they see these small changes, they immediately go back to the old observation first cycle. They look at the small improvement and think, well, this is nice, but it's not really enough. I still don't have the wealth I want. Maybe this isn't working after all. But in the creator cycle, when you see positive changes, no matter how small, you use them for confirmation instead of observation. Instead of judging whether the changes are big enough or fast enough, you celebrate them as evidence that your new image and attitude are working. You say things like, yes, this proves that my abundance is flowing. This shows that my higher self's choice is manifesting. This is evidence that I'm tuned into the right frequency. You use every positive sign, no matter how small, to strengthen your belief in your chosen wealth rather than to judge whether it's happening quickly enough. This confirmation step is crucial because it feeds energy back into your abundant image and attitude, making them stronger and more consistent. The stronger your abundant mindset becomes, the bigger the reflections from the universe become. And the bigger the reflections become, the more evidence you have to confirm that your higher self's choice is real and is manifesting in your life. This creates an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral. Each positive sign strengthens your abundant attitude, which creates bigger positive signs, which strengthen your attitude even more, and so on. This is how people go from financial struggle to financial success in ways that seem miraculous to outside observers. The key to making this cycle work is learning to turn your back on current reality when it doesn't match your higher self's choice. This doesn't mean being irresponsible or ignoring your bills. It means not letting temporary circumstances control your thoughts and feelings about your financial future. When you see something in your current reality that doesn't match the wealth your higher self chose for you, instead of letting it create thoughts and feelings of limitation, you remind yourself, this is just showing me the results of old thoughts and attitudes. My new abundant mindset is already creating different results that I'll see soon. You have to realize that what you're seeing around you now was created by decisions, thoughts, and attitudes you had in the past. If you want to create different results in the future, you have to start with different thoughts and attitudes today, regardless of what today's circumstances look like. This is why I say you must turn your back on current reflection when it doesn't match your higher self's choice. You acknowledge reality without letting it control your vision for the future. You handle your current responsibilities while staying focused on the abundance that's coming rather than the limitations that are currently visible. The confirmation step is also important because it trains your mind to look for evidence of your chosen wealth instead of evidence of lack. Whatever you look for, you'll find more of. If you're always looking for proof that money is hard to get, you'll find plenty of that proof everywhere. But if you start looking for proof that abundance is flowing to you, you'll start noticing signs of that abundance everywhere too. Maybe you'll notice that people are more generous with you, or that you're finding better deals on things you need to buy, or that opportunities are appearing more frequently, or that you're having more ideas about how to make money. These might not be dramatic changes at first, but they're signs that your abundant attitude is starting to create abundant experiences. The more you acknowledge and celebrate these signs, the more your mind gets programmed to expect abundance instead of limitation. And when your mind expects abundance, it notices opportunities that it used to overlook, feels confident taking actions that used to seem scary, and attracts people and situations that support your financial growth. This is how you become a conscious co-creator with your higher self instead of an unconscious victim of circumstances. You start with the image your higher self chose. You maintain that image regardless of current appearances, and you use every positive sign as confirmation that your chosen wealth is manifesting. When you master this cycle, you develop unshakable confidence in your financial future because you're no longer dependent on outside circumstances to feel good about money. You know that your abundance is coming because you're actively creating it through your alignment with your higher self's choice. I want to share my personal journey with this principle because for many years of my life, I was trapped in the same financial struggles that millions of people experience every day. I tried everything the world tells you to do to make money. I worked longer hours, I started different businesses, I followed investment advice, I read books about getting rich, and I even tried some of those get-rich-quick schemes that promise easy money. Some of these approaches worked for a little while. I would make some progress, get excited that things were finally changing, but then something would always happen to bring me back to where I started. A business would fail, an investment would go bad, an opportunity would fall through, or unexpected expenses would eat up any money I had managed to save. I couldn't understand why money seemed to flow so easily for some people, while I had to struggle and fight for every dollar. I started to believe that maybe I just wasn't cut out for financial success, or maybe I was missing some secret that successful people knew but weren't sharing. The frustration was eating away at my confidence and my hope. I would see other people living the kind of life I wanted, traveling when they wanted to, buying things without stress, helping their families, pursuing their dreams without worrying about money. And I felt like there was an invisible wall between me and that kind of freedom. I tried harder and harder, working 18-hour days, sacrificing time with family and friends, and pushing myself to the point of exhaustion. But the harder I pushed, the more obstacles seemed to appear. It was like I was swimming upstream against a current that kept getting stronger. That's when I first heard about the concept that our outer world reflects our inner world, and that maybe I was approaching money from completely the wrong direction. At first, I thought it was just more spiritual nonsense that didn't apply to real-world problems like paying bills and building wealth. But I was desperate enough to try anything, so I started exploring the idea that maybe my financial struggles weren't really about the strategies I was using or the opportunities available to me. Maybe they were about something deeper, the way I was thinking about money, the beliefs I had about my own worthiness, and my relationship with abundance itself. When I first learned about the higher self and the idea that our wealth might be chosen before we're born, I'll be honest, I was skeptical. It sounded too good to be true, and I had been disappointed by so many promises about easy money that I didn't want to get my hopes up again. But something about this teaching felt different. It wasn't promising that I could get rich quick without any effort. It was asking me to look at money from a completely different perspective. Not as something I had to chase and fight for, but as something that was already chosen for me and trying to reach me. The first thing I did was get quiet and ask myself the question, what wealth did my higher self choose for me? I tried to put aside all my doubts and fears and just listen to what came up from my heart instead of my worried mind. The answer that came surprised me. Instead of a specific dollar amount, I felt a sense of freedom, creativity, and service. I sensed that my higher self had chosen wealth that would come through helping people, through sharing ideas and insights, and through work that felt meaningful rather than just profitable. This was completely different from how I had been trying to make money. I had been chasing opportunities based on how much money they might make, not on whether they felt aligned with my deeper purpose. I had been trying to fit myself into other people's successful formulas instead of following my own inner guidance about what felt right for me. So I decided to experiment. Instead of continuing to force strategies that felt wrong but seemed logical, I started paying attention to what excited me, what felt meaningful, and what seemed to flow naturally. I started trusting my intuition about opportunities instead of just analyzing them with my rational mind. The changes didn't happen overnight, but they started happening much faster than I expected. Within a few weeks, I noticed that people were responding to me differently. Conversations about potential collaborations started happening more naturally. Ideas that felt inspired began coming to me more frequently. Small amounts of money started flowing to me in unexpected ways. Someone paid me for advice I had given casually. A project I had forgotten about generated some income. A business contact referred someone to me who needed exactly the kind of help I enjoyed providing. None of these were huge amounts of money, but what struck me was how effortless they felt compared to all the struggling I had been doing before. Instead of having to push and convince and chase, opportunities were starting to come to me. Instead of working against resistance, I was working with a natural flow. The key moment came when I realized I was automatically looking for evidence that this new approach was working instead of looking for evidence that money was hard to get. Every small positive sign made me more confident that I was on the right track, which made me more open to even bigger opportunities. As I continued to trust this process and stay aligned with what felt like my higher self's choice for me, the opportunities kept growing. What started as small amounts of unexpected income grew into regular income from work that I loved doing. What started as single projects grew into ongoing relationships with people who valued what I offered. But the most amazing change wasn't just the money, it was how I felt about money. The stress, worry, and desperation were replaced by a sense of trust, excitement, and gratitude. Instead of feeling like I was fighting for survival, I felt like I was being supported by life itself. I stopped checking my bank account with anxiety and started checking it with curiosity about what new abundance might have appeared. I stopped dreading bills and started feeling grateful that I had money to take care of my needs. I stopped comparing myself to other people's wealth and started feeling excited about my own unique path to abundance. The money kept growing, but more importantly, it was growing in ways that felt sustainable and fulfilling. I wasn't just making money. I was making money doing work that mattered to me, with people I enjoyed working with, in ways that felt aligned with my values and purpose. This transformation didn't happen because I learned some new business strategy or discovered some secret investment technique. It happened because I learned to align with what my higher self had already chosen for me instead of fighting against it. I realized that all those years of struggle weren't because I wasn't smart enough or talented enough or worthy enough. They were because I was swimming against the current of my own higher self's choice, trying to create wealth in ways that didn't match what was actually selected for me. Once I learned to work with my higher self instead of against it, everything changed. The same skills and talents I always had became much more valuable and marketable. The same opportunities that had seemed impossible before started opening up naturally. The same goals that had felt like uphill battles started feeling like they were flowing downhill. People started noticing this change and asking me what I was doing differently. When I would try to explain about aligning with your higher self's choice, some people thought it sounded too spiritual or impractical, but others resonated with it immediately and started experiencing their own transformations. What I learned from watching other people apply these principles is that everyone's path looks different because everyone's higher self chose different forms of wealth and different ways for that wealth to manifest. But the process is the same. Getting clear on what was chosen, trusting it even when you can't see evidence yet, and staying aligned with it consistently. This isn't magic, although the results can seem magical to people who are used to struggling with money. This is how spiritual law works when you cooperate with it instead of working against it. Your higher self wants to give you the wealth it chose even more than you want to receive it. Your job is simply to get out of the way and allow what was already selected to flow into your physical experience. Now, years later, I live with a level of financial freedom and peace that I never thought was possible during those struggling years. But more than that, I live with the deep knowing that my abundance is supported by something much bigger and more reliable than my own efforts or the current state of the economy. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to understand something that could change your relationship with money forever. The wealth you seek, the financial freedom you dream about, the abundance you desire, none of this is separate from you or unavailable to you. It was all chosen for you with perfect love and wisdom before you even took your first breath on this earth. Your higher self, the wisest and most loving part of you, looked at your soul's journey and selected exactly the right amount of wealth to support your highest growth, your deepest fulfillment, and your greatest contribution to the world. This choice wasn't random, wasn't based on whether you deserve it, and wasn't dependent on how hard you would work or how smart you would be. It was based on what would serve your soul's evolution most perfectly. The reason so many people struggle with money isn't because wealth is scarce or because they're not good enough. It's because they've lost connection with this deeper truth. They've been taught to chase money from the outside instead of receiving it from the inside. They've learned to fight for abundance instead of aligning with what was already chosen. But now you know a different way. You understand that your job isn't to create wealth. It's to allow the wealth that was already created for you in the spiritual realm to manifest in your physical experience. You've learned that your higher self is constantly broadcasting the frequency of your chosen abundance, and your role is to tune into that frequency with your thoughts, feelings, and actions. You've discovered that the delays between your higher self's choice and your physical reality aren't obstacles. They're part of the perfect timing that takes into account thousands of factors you can't see. You've learned that focusing on what was chosen for you instead of what you currently lack creates the energy that attracts opportunities, ideas, and resources that match your abundant destiny. Most importantly, you've understood that you can reverse the cycle that keeps most people trapped in financial struggle. Instead of letting your current circumstances control your thoughts and feelings, you can let your thoughts and feelings, aligned with your higher self's choice, create new circumstances. This isn't just theory or spiritual philosophy. This is practical wisdom that has transformed countless lives, including my own. When you truly embrace the truth that your wealth is already chosen and learn to align with it consistently, you'll experience changes in your financial reality that will amaze you. Money will start flowing to you in ways that feel natural and effortless instead of forced and stressful. Opportunities will appear that match your talents, interests, and values instead of requiring you to compromise your integrity or exhaust yourself. You'll develop an unshakable confidence in your financial future because you'll know it's supported by spiritual law rather than dependent on economic conditions or luck. But remember, this transformation requires you to trust something you cannot see with your physical eyes and to maintain faith even when your current circumstances don't yet reflect your higher self's choice. It requires you to think, feel, and act from abundance before you see evidence of abundance. It requires you to become a conscious creator instead of an unconscious reactor. The beautiful truth is that your higher self wants this for you even more than you want it for yourself. Your abundance isn't something you have to earn, prove you deserve, or fight to obtain. It's something that's already yours, already chosen, already on its way to you. Your part is to stay aligned with this choice through your daily thoughts, feelings, and actions. When you catch yourself thinking thoughts of lack, gently redirect your mind to thoughts of abundance. When you feel worried about money, remember that your higher self chose wealth for you with perfect wisdom. When you see evidence of your abundance manifesting, celebrate it as confirmation that your alignment is working. Every day, take a few moments to connect with your higher self and feel gratitude for the wealth that was chosen for you. Ask for guidance about how to stay aligned with this choice and listen to the answers that come through your intuition. Trust the excitement you feel about certain opportunities and trust the resistance you feel when something doesn't align with your chosen path. Remember that your wealth was chosen not just for your own benefit, but for the benefit of everyone whose life you'll touch when you're living in financial freedom. Your abundance will allow you to be more generous, more creative, more helpful, and more of who you came here to be. The world needs you to receive your chosen wealth because when you do, you'll be able to make contributions that are currently impossible. You'll be able to help people in ways you can't help them now. You'll be able to pursue dreams and purposes that require financial resources. You'll be able to live as an example of what's possible when someone aligns with their higher self's abundant choice. So as you go forward from here, carry with you the deep knowing that your financial struggles are temporary, but your chosen abundance is eternal. Carry the understanding that every challenge you face is just redirecting you toward better alignment with what was already selected for you. Carry the confidence that comes from knowing your wealth is supported by the same infinite intelligence that orchestrates all of nature's perfection. If this message has opened your heart to new possibilities, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can continue receiving insights that support your journey to abundance. Share this video with anyone in your life who needs to hear this truth about their own chosen wealth. Their higher self might be using you as a messenger to deliver exactly what they need to hear at exactly the right time. Leave a comment below and tell me what wealth you feel your higher self chose for you. When you declare your chosen abundance publicly, you send a powerful signal to the universe that you're ready to receive it. And when you read other people's declarations, you'll be inspired by the variety of ways that abundance can manifest. Thank you for taking this journey with me and for being open to a completely new way of understanding your relationship with money. Remember that your abundance isn't just coming, it's already here in the spiritual realm, and every moment you stay aligned with your higher self's choice brings it closer to your physical experience. Trust the process, celebrate every sign of progress, and know that your higher self is guiding you toward the financial freedom that was always meant to be yours. Your abundant life is not just a dream, it's a destiny that's already been chosen and is already on its way to you.